Ethan Carter had always trusted his cousin Victoria. They grew up together, shared family holidays, and exchanged secrets. But tonight, something felt off. The house was unusually quiet, yet the faint murmur of voices drifted from Victoria's study. Ethan crept closer, his pulse quickening. Through the gap in the door, he spotted her and Daniel hunched over a stack of papers, documents with his name on them. Once the transfer is finalized, the property will be in our name by next week, Victoria whispered. Ethan froze. His stomach clenched as realization set in. His own flesh and blood were scheming to take his $450,000 property right from under him. Without a second thought, Ethan shoved the door open. What the hell are you two doing? His voice was sharp, cutting through the air like a blade. Victoria and Daniel jolted upright. For a split second, their faces flickered with guilt, but it quickly hardened into defiance. You weren't supposed to see this, Victoria said coolly, sliding the documents aside. Ethan snatched the papers from the desk, eyes scanning the forged signatures, the legal jargon twisted into something malicious. Rage bubbled inside him. You were going to steal my property? His voice rose, fists tightening around the pages. Daniel stepped forward, arms crossed. It's business, Ethan. You have the house, but you don't know how to use it. We're just making sure it doesn't go to waste. Ethan's blood boiled. Making sure it doesn't go to waste? It's my property, not yours. Victoria sighed, leaning against the desk. Look, Ethan. We can do this the easy way, or the hard way. The property will be ours soon, whether you fight it or not. Ethan narrowed his eyes. You think I'm just going to stand by and watch you steal from me? Victoria's gaze darkened. If you challenge this, Ethan, you'll regret it. We have lawyers. We have backing. And we know how to win. A silence stretched between them, thick with tension. Ethan knew what was happening. Victoria was daring him to fight, warning him that he had no way out. But she had no idea who she was dealing with. As Ethan stormed out of the room, his mind raced. If they thought he was going down without a fight, they had underestimated him. Standing outside under the cold night sky, Ethan exhaled sharply. His heart pounded, not with fear, but determination. They had made a mistake. They had shown their hand too soon. And now, it was his turn to play the game. Ethan Carter paced his living room, the forged documents spread across the coffee table like evidence at a crime scene. Every word, every stamp, every signature was designed to corner him, and it was working. Victoria and Daniel hadn't just schemed behind his back, they had orchestrated a near-flawless deception. The property transfer paperwork looked legitimate, his name gradually fading into obscurity, replaced by theirs. His mind raced. How had they pulled this off? Lawyers? Bribed officials? Fake witnesses? The thought of them smirking, certain they had won, made his blood boil. Determined to fight back, Ethan grabbed his phone and called Samuel Reyes, the best real estate expert he knew. If there was a way out, Samuel would find it. An hour later, Ethan sat across from Samuel in a dimly lit office. The older man adjusted his glasses, flipping through the documents with an expert eye. This is bad, Samuel murmured. They've covered their tracks well. If you challenge this in court, it'll take months, maybe years, and that's if you win. This is bad, Samuel murmured. They've covered their tracks well. If you challenge this in court, it'll take months, maybe years, and that's if you win. Ethan clenched his jaw. There has to be another way. Samuel hesitated, then leaned forward. There might be. Samuel pulled out an old case file. If we act fast, there's a legal loophole that could work in your favor. They've initiated ownership transfer, but they don't technically own it yet. If you move before their paperwork is finalized, you can sell the property first. Ethan's breath caught. I can sell my own property out from under them? Samuel nodded. Legally, yes, if you find the right buyer immediately. Their claim will be void if ownership changes hands first. The weight of the situation settled in. This wasn't just a counterstrike, it was the ultimate reversal. Victoria and Daniel thought they had won. They were already celebrating. But soon, they'd wake up to find their victory erased overnight. Ethan exhaled, steadying himself. Let's do it. Samuel smirked. I'll make some calls. As Ethan walked out of the office, the anger he once felt morphed into cold, calculated determination. If Victoria and Daniel wanted to play dirty, they had just picked the wrong opponent. Ethan sat in Samuel Reyes' office, his fingers drumming against the table, mind racing through every possible angle. The betrayal stung, but what gnawed at him most was the sheer arrogance of Victoria and Daniel. They think they've won, Ethan muttered. They're already celebrating. Samuel leaned back, flipping through paperwork. They're confident because they've locked down their deal. But confidence leads to oversight. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Oversight? Samuel smirked. You're in a unique position, Ethan. You still technically own the property, and before their claim finalizes, there's a little-known real estate clause that could work in your favor. Samuel slid a document across the table. Ethan scanned the highlighted section. Right of preemptive sale? Ethan murmured. It's old school, Samuel explained. In certain cases, a property owner can transfer ownership if they sell first, bypassing pending claims. Ethan sat up straighter. So if I sell my house before their paperwork goes through, they lose everything? Samuel nodded. Exactly. Their claim is rendered void because the ownership chain shifts before their deal is locked. Ethan exhaled. He wasn't just getting his property back, he was wiping their victory clean. Exhaled. He wasn't just getting his property back, he was wiping their victory clean. But there was one problem, he had to move fast. Ethan dialed Grace Mitchell, a wealthy investor looking for a quick property purchase. I need a buyer immediately, Ethan said. Grace laughed. Buying overnight? You sound desperate. Not desperate, motivated. Grace listened as Ethan laid out the details. A valuable property, a rapid deal, and a chance to blindside two people who thought they had outsmarted the system. I like the drama, Grace said after a pause. Send the details. I'll move fast. With the wheels in motion, Ethan prepared for the final move. He needed silence, secrecy, and timing. Victoria and Daniel were sleeping soundly, blissfully unaware that their empire was about to crumble before sunrise. And Ethan was going to make sure they woke up to the shock of their lives. Ethan's hands trembled slightly as he dialed Grace Mitchell's number. It was well past midnight, but urgency outweighed etiquette. Grace answered on the third ring. You got something for me? Yes, Ethan said, keeping his voice steady. I need the deal finalized before sunrise. A brief silence. Then, Grace chuckled. You really aren't giving them time to breathe, are you? They don't deserve time, Ethan murmured. Within the hour, Ethan met Grace in a private office, far from prying eyes. Samuel Reyes sat between them, contract papers spread on the table. Grace scanned the documents, tapping her manicured nails against the desk. This is brutal, she mused. You're cutting them off before they even realize they're bleeding. Ethan remained silent, watching as she signed each line with swift, deliberate strokes. The property was no longer theirs. It was done. Victoria and Daniel slept soundly, unaware that their reality had already shifted. Their confidence, their scheming, it had all crumbled while they dreamed. Morning would bring devastation. And Ethan would be there to watch it unfold. The city was quiet, bathed in the dim glow of early morning streetlights. In a secluded office, Ethan Carter watched as the final documents were processed. Samuel Reyes reviewed the paperwork one last time. It's done, he confirmed, sliding the stamped papers across the desk. Grace Mitchell smirked as she skimmed the transfer details. By the time they wake up, this house will belong to me. Ethan exhaled, feeling the weight lift from his shoulders. Victory wasn't loud. It wasn't chaotic. It was quiet. Ruthless. Absolute. Across town, Victoria and Daniel slept soundly in their bed, oblivious to the storm brewing beneath them. Victoria had spent the previous evening toasting to their success, recounting how easily they had maneuvered Ethan out of his property. Daniel had laughed. By tomorrow, the paperwork will be official. Nothing he can do now. Their arrogance was untouched. Their certainty unwavering. They had no idea their ownership had already vanished into thin air. The morning sun crept through the curtains, casting golden light onto their unsuspecting faces. A knock at the door shattered the tranquility. Victoria stirred, annoyed. Who the hell is knocking this early? Daniel groaned, stretching. Ignore it. The knocking grew louder. Then came the unmistakable sound of keys turning in the lock. Their hearts stopped. The front door swung open. A stranger stepped inside, Grace Mitchell, holding the deed to her new house. Good morning, Grace said coolly. I believe you're in my property. Victoria bolted upright. Excuse me? Ethan stepped in behind Grace, arms crossed. That's right. You don't own this place anymore. Confusion. Shock. Denial. Their world cracked beneath them as realization dawned. Ethan had beaten them before they even knew there was a fight. And now, they had lost everything. Victoria stretched lazily under the warm morning sun streaming through the bedroom window. Today was supposed to be a victory. She had spent the past week gloating over Ethan's downfall, certain that her scheme had worked flawlessly. Their future was secured, and nothing could touch them now. Daniel was in the kitchen, sipping his coffee, casually flipping through his phone when the first unusual event of the day happened, a knock at the door. A loud, impatient knock. Then another. Victoria descended the stairs, irritation creeping in. She pulled open the door. A woman stood there. Grace Mitchell. Grace wasn't smiling. She simply held up a folder, flipping it open to reveal a signed deed. Good morning, Grace said calmly. I believe you're in my house. Victoria blinked. What? Daniel, hearing the exchange, stepped into the hallway. His expression shifted from mild annoyance to confusion. Grace crossed her arms. This property was purchased last night. I own it now. Victoria's mouth went dry. That's impossible. Victoria's mouth went dry. That's impossible. She grabbed the papers, eyes darting over the legal jargon, the signatures, the final sale confirmation. Daniel tore the folder from her hands, flipping through every page, his face darkening. The first emotion that hit them was disbelief. Then fear. Then rage. What the hell is this? Daniel snarled. This house was ours. Our paperwork was never finalized, Grace interrupted smoothly. But Ethan's was. Victoria's stomach twisted. Her knees nearly buckled as realization hit her like a freight train. They had played a game, a calculated, cruel game, and Ethan had played better. The front door swung open again. Ethan stepped inside, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. Victoria felt the air leave her lungs. You stole from me, Ethan said quietly. So I took everything from you before you even knew it was gone. Daniel slammed the papers down onto the coffee table. You manipulated the system. Ethan tilted his head. Funny, that's exactly what you tried to do. Ethan tilted his head. Funny, that's exactly what you tried to do. Victoria had no response. No excuses. No way out. The house wasn't hers anymore. And there was nothing she could do about it. Victoria's hands trembled as she clutched the deed, the proof of her downfall. Her breath hitched, and her mind raced, refusing to accept the impossible. This is a joke, she spat, eyes burning into Ethan. You can't just steal our home overnight. Ethan's lips curled into a slow, measured smile. Funny. That's exactly what you tried to do to me. Daniel stepped forward, his face twisted with fury. This is illegal. We had everything set up. You had nothing, Ethan interrupted coldly. You tried to play the system, manipulate the law, use deception to take what wasn't yours. And in doing so, you made one fatal mistake. Victoria narrowed her eyes. And what was that? Ethan stepped closer, his voice calm, yet razor sharp. You underestimated me. Silence hung between them, thick with realization. Daniel shoved the papers off the table in frustration. You had no right to do this. Ethan tilted his head. No right? This was my property. You were the ones who tried to take it. I simply moved first. Victoria gritted her teeth. We'll fight this. We have connections, lawyers. You had lawyers. You had backing. And none of it stopped this. Ethan's tone hardened. You thought you could rewrite my reality without consequences. You thought I'd crumble. But instead, I erased yours. Victoria's fury gave way to something deeper, defeat. Her face paled. She knew. It was over. Daniel turned away, jaw clenched, refusing to acknowledge what had just happened. Ethan exhaled, feeling the last remnants of anger dissolve. He had won. Not just by reclaiming what was his, but by proving that justice was never theirs to control. He turned to leave. But before stepping out, he gave them one final glance. You took your best shot, he said. But you lost before the fight even began. And with that, he walked away, victorious. Ethan stepped outside, inhaling the crisp morning air. The chaos behind him no longer mattered, his property was secured, and Victoria and Daniel had learned the hard way that greed came at a cost. For the first time in weeks, he felt peace. Inside the house they no longer owned, Victoria sat in stunned silence. Daniel paced, muttering to himself, flipping through legal files as if he could undo what had already been sealed. But there was no escape. No loophole left for them. You planned this, Victoria whispered, finally breaking the silence. Ethan turned to her, his voice calm. No. You planned yours first. I just finished the game before you even knew it started. Samuel Reyes handed Ethan the final paperwork, nodding in approval. It's all official. The house is out of their hands for good. Ethan nodded, looking down at the document. He had won. But more than that, he had proven something important. Justice wasn't always handed to you, you had to fight for it. Greed always had consequences, and Victoria and Daniel were now living in theirs. As Ethan walked away, the weight of the past weeks finally lifted. He wasn't bitter, he was free. This wasn't just revenge. It was balance restored. And some lessons, once learned, could never be forgotten.